Don Mazzella here for Small Business Digest. I have a guest with us today, which I'm really interested in learning more because we all come up, we have these legal things that we have to put together, a non-disclosure, etc. And we can pay a lawyer or we can do it ourselves. And when we do it ourselves, we usually screw up. We have with us Taher Hassonjee. He's going to talk about his company. And without further ado, we welcome him. Hello there.
Hi, Don. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Uh, as we ask all our guests, my first question is always, what's your personal background? The second question is, what's your company and what's it all about? And the third one is a website where people can learn more. So we'll start first with personal. Give us a little bit of what you're doing and who
Yeah,
you are.
sure. Yeah, so I always start my background out with my family background, which really informs a lot of what we do here at Doc Draft. So, my mom's side of the family, we're full of lawyers. I'm not one myself, but a lot of the other members of my mom's family are, and particularly solo practitioners, and so folks that are running their own firms. And on my dad's side of the family, basically everybody is a small business owner, and so from that background, I think I witnessed a lot of the challenges that small business owners face with their legal needs firsthand, both from the demand side of the equation, meaning the challenges that my father's family faced, and then fulfilling those needs, things that my mom and her family faced as well from an attorney's perspective. And that really is what helps inform the vision of Doc Draft and what we're building today. My professional background, I started my career in venture capital. I was at an early stage fund that was investing in small tech companies, investing smaller checks, anywhere from $250,000 to $2 million. I was lucky to be at that firm called Jumpstart Ventures, during a really good run for the firm. We had $1 billion exit and a few nine-figure exits while I was there. Now, obviously, I take no credit for any of that. I was low man on the totem pole, but definitely learned a lot and was helped inform how I viewed the impact that technology can have in the world. I left there to join a company called RV Share as the head of business development. RV Share, pretty simply put, is like an Airbnb for RVs. I joined there at a relatively early stage, and by the time I left, we were our largest RV rental marketplace globally. Raised $100 million from KKR, and then I left a little while after that to figure out what was next for me. As I was thinking through ideas of what I wanted to work on next, a lot of what we do here at DocDraft was certainly top of mind. And especially with the advances in AI, it seemed like a really unique opportunity to build a product that helped small business owners address more of their legal needs for themselves. So the point you made, Don, right? Like right now, 75% of the time, small businesses choose to tackle legal needs on their own. And they basically are kind of winging it on their own in Word and maybe trying to find rudimentary templates online. If you're a small business owner listening to this, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Uh, but but that's challenging in its own right because you ultimately don't know if what you're ending up with is good or good enough. And then on the other side, if you go to an attorney, it can often be either an expensive process and or a very long process. Whereas you need results and you need your documents right away. And so, we were able to help solve this problem by building out software that helped automate away a lot of the challenges that SMBs face, small businesses with their legal needs, and that's what we do at DocDraft. So we're able to help draft complex, bespoke legal documents through our software. We're able to help analyze documents. We're able to help you understand kind of your legal roadmap. And then critically, we also make it much, much easier to connect with an attorney as well. So through our platform, you can go ahead and draft a document, for example, and then you can choose to have an attorney come in and review that document to provide any feedback or provide any additional customization that it might require. And you can do this at both a much lower rate than you would have if you went straight to an attorney, and do it in a much quicker turnaround time. Attorneys on our platform can typically turn things around within 24 hours. So that's what we're doing at DocDraft. Working with thousands of small businesses across the country to help with this.
Okay. And your website?
Docdraft.ai. So that's DOCDRAFT.ai.
Okay. Now, I have a lot of questions, but let me start with the first one, which is a lawyer always says no first.
Mhm.
Okay, well, if you want to do something and you're a small business, it's been my experience over the years and that of other people that a lawyer says no. And oftentimes he said no because, or she said no because it protects, they understand that what you want to do is kind of a risk for your company.
Mhm.
Uh, have the how does your service help a small business not only draft uh, documents but um, uh, give them a little bit of a voice to say, "Be careful."
Yeah, I think it's a good question, right? I think one of the things that folks often feel, right? I think it's part of the information asymmetry that exists in the relationship between a client and attorney, and a pretty fundamental level, right? Which is when you're a small business owner, you're thinking about everything through the actions you want to take and the results you're hoping to gain for your business through those actions, right? And attorneys are looking at it in a pretty different way. They're looking at it through the lens of how do I mitigate risk for my client? That's their job, right? And what we're trying to do using software is really empower small business owners to do more on their own, meaning think about those decisions for themselves and take those actions for themselves, and then choose when they want to have that voice weigh in on what they should do or how they should do it. And so that's kind of the fundamental orientation difference. Because if you think about the workflow today, right, you as a small business owner have two options, right? Right now, without DocDraft, you could either kind of wing it on your own, and that carries a ton of risk and very little information and very poor kind of result quality, right? Like you're ultimately drafting things on your own. You don't know if it looks good or bad, if it's close to standards or not. Or you go to an attorney and you kind of cede all control. Right now, the attorney's in the driver's seat, and they're going to be the ones that help orchestrate the process. We're trying to create a middle ground there, where the small business owner actually can be the one in the driver's seat, but have that voice of an attorney to help guide them and direct them. And by the
Yeah,
way, this is actually how larger companies operate, right? So when you have a general counsel and you are, a Fortune 500 company, that's what the general counsel is typically doing. They're saying, okay, we'll help take the actions, and we will tell you what we think, but ultimately, since we as a general counsel are employed by you, the business owner is going to be the ones making the decisions. That's the level of relationship that we're helping to create for small business owners through DocDraft.
make no mistake about it. You're on this show because I believe what you're doing is very important to small business. So let's go a little further down the road. I'm a small business, and I want to create a non-disclosure agreement between myself and somebody, a big company.
Hmm?
What are the take us through the steps that someone would do uh, creating that NDA?
Sure. So you would come into DocDraft and you would talk about what you're looking for in our platform. And so we kind of ask this more open-ended question, which is, what are you looking for? Now you could say I need an NDA if you're informed and you know that's what you need. You could also come in and say I need a document that keeps information confidential between myself and a company that I'm going to be working with. Obviously, that'll still take you to an NDA. And so when I talk about that empowerment, that's what I mean is providing the right kind of guidance and information to the small business owners to get them to the best place and the best outcome. Okay, so now you've said that and you're drafting an NDA. We'll ask you a series of questions that become increasingly kind of more in the weeds to get as much rich information as we need to draft a really custom, bespoke NDA that fits your needs and the situation that you're in. So that's kind of step one. And so the document will vary in nature based on the information you provide to us. Now you go through that process. It's relatively simple. It'll be, let's say, 20 something questions. And at the end of that, you're looking at a document. Now you can say, okay, looks good. I want to retain an attorney to help review this and make sure I'm not missing anything big, or that this NDA is up to par, because I'm going to be sending it to a big company that's going to be scrutinizing it with attorneys as well. You can hire that attorney. That attorney will come in, and for a relatively low cost and relatively quick turnaround time, they'll provide you with any feedback on that document. They might ask you some questions. They might make some changes to the document based on those questions and those answers, and then they will present that document back to you. From there, you might go ahead and send that to the opposing party. Their lawyers might take a look at it. They might mark it up, right? As lawyers do, right? Okay, you receive this document back. You're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, they've made some changes to it. How does this look? right? Now, luckily, we can help analyze that document as well. So you can upload that new version. You'll get some feedback on that document and maybe what areas of concern you might want to think about. And then from there, you can say, okay, look, they made some changes. I'm good with this. Or you could say, you know what? I want to bring back that attorney that I was talking to previously and say, hey, they made some changes. Could you review this and make sure that this looks okay before I sign it? Maybe that attorney that's already familiar with your situation now comes back, and again, for a relatively low cost and a relatively quick turnaround time, they provide some additional comments. You feel comfortable with that, and you sign it and kind of move on. And so I'm, obviously walking through this in great granularity, but this is the type of situation that our customers face on a regular basis, and that we're able to help solve for them in a way that gets them the highest quality of coverage possible while doing it at the fastest time and the lowest rate.
Okay, let's stop right there. Let's talk about two things. To get to the point where you can submit the document to your attorney, to your attorney, well, what are the approximate costs?
So we charge a subscription cost to use DocDraft in all of our software features. So that's all the things that are automated by our technology and do not involve a human in the loop. We charge $20 a month for that, and that gives you access to
Wait a second, $20 a month? Did you say
$20 a month? Yep.
Okay?
Yep. Now the attorney time is obviously separate. The attorneys, if you have them review something, will charge usually a flat rate for the task. And that can vary from as low as $100 to as high as 400.
Okay, so that's really fantastic. But let me back up and make sure I understand it. Sometimes I'm dense. But so I sign up for your service and it's $20 a month. And I can do a document during that period, that month. Is there an additional charge at that point?
You can do as many documents as you want for $20 a month.
That's fantastic. The reason I say that is I'm trying to do a will, and
Yeah.
and I went into the service, and before I got beyond the first page. It was $300.
Yep.
So that's why I'm surprised. By the way, do you provide will?
We do. Yeah, it's interesting. We have a lot of personal documents that we can provide too. And the reason we started building those from day one was when you're a small business owner, there are a lot of things that you're doing that are fully related to your business. But depending on the size and scope of your business, there's going to be some bleed over into your personal life. It's just kind of natural for small business owners. And so, most small business owners actually do need a will because, the business has got to go to somebody.
Right.
And so those are the types of things that we are also able to provide for. And so we've had customers use us for, many, many business documents. And then, one day decide to use us for a series of personal documents as well.
Well, let's stop right there. Just ask, give us 2 or 3 other personal documents that someone.
Yeah, will, if you're doing a will, you probably need a power of attorney. You can do trust through us. You can do things like custody agreements, separation agreements, prenups, postnups, all kinds of personal documents. Yeah.
Way too late for me for a prenup.
Yeah, well, you can do the postnup then.
Yeah, no, it's funny.
Yeah, if you're doing the postnup, you might need the will before you talk to your wife about that.
Well, in the case of our business, my wife owns the business, not me. But anyway, let's go back. Give us the website again for our audience, please.
Yeah, so it's docdraft.ai. That's DOCDRAFT.ai.
Okay. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the NDA because a lot of business problems come with this NDA agreement. How deep do you get into it with a person, with a business? The NDA usually talks about your intellectual property and things like that. Do you go into that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we get into the intellectual property. You can and for every document, we always, and basically every question within the document, we'll usually provide you with a few kind of set answers that you can put in, or you always have the option to enter your own custom answer. And so you can define intellectual property based on kind of predefined structures that we have, or you can also describe it in your own words. So say, you're a pizza shop, and the only thing that you find to be really proprietary is your sauce recipe, and everything else maybe matters a little bit less. You can customize it to that level of specificity as well.
Well, we don't. In this show, we've had people say they've lost their sauce recipes. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
we actually have a lot of restaurants and catering businesses as customers as well.
okay. Well, but now uh, there's a critical question uh, where any issues are resolved, the state that's resolved. Do you? I come to you. I'm in Wilmington now, but we were in New Jersey. Do you help people decide, for instance, where the dispute should be resolved?
Yeah, so we help is kind of an interesting word, right? We can help guide you there, but ultimately, usually most decisions we need the user to kind of specify a decision. And so what we'll do is usually kind of recommend and provide information on how you can think through that decision. And so as an example, right, going back to the NDA example, right? You can choose how many years the NDA applies, right? And we can talk about and we'll tell you what we see as more common and what we see as less common based on our data. Now, ultimately, it is for you to decide, right? And so for all discretionary things, ultimately, we don't tell users what to do, but we try to give them enough information to make an informed decision themselves.
Do you offer employment contracts and other material like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, employment is one of our big kind of areas of documentation. So we do everything from employment agreements, confidentiality agreements for employment, termination agreements, employee handbooks, all things that we're drafting pretty commonly.
Hmm. What don't? Well, I think maybe it's easier to say, what don't you offer?
There's not a lot we don't offer. Just from a network of attorneys standpoint, we don't have a ton of criminal backgrounds, and so we don't do a ton of criminal work. We don't do that much plaintiff's work, although some. Um, those are maybe two areas where we don't do quite as much.
I'm
But
sorry,
otherwise, yeah, we have. Sorry, what was that?
which two areas?
Yeah, so we don't do a ton of criminal law. That's probably one area where we don't have a ton of coverage and don't do a lot. And then we don't do all that much plaintiff's work, although we do see some plaintiff's work. And those are probably the two big ones.
Hmm. Um, uh, how, uh, in your experience, what is the biggest issue facing small business where they lose out if they don't do a good job? In terms,
Yeah, I think that two things that we definitely see on our platform, we see a lot of let's say NDAs, or let's say information rights more broadly. I think that's an area where small businesses definitely could use more support. So if you think about it through the scale of what bigger companies do, right? They're always thinking about protecting their information rights. And then when you think about it from a small business perspective, they're doing it far less commonly. And the reason they're doing it far less commonly is, frankly, up until now, it was very expensive and hard to do. And so they kind of punt on that, right? It's obviously like when you're a small business owner and you're wearing every hat in the business, it's one of the things that's easy to push to the back burner. We really help unblock that, right? And help you keep information rights top of mind and make them easy to solve. And so that can be everything from NDAs to privacy policies, to terms of service, customer agreements. All of those things can be much more rich through DocDraft. And then the other one is employment. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. But it's easy to miss basic employment documents when you're a small business. So,
hmm.
for example, damage waivers if you're a general contractor would be a great example of that, right? Like, obviously there's some risk involved in the job. You want to make sure that as a business you're protected, but doing that is actually costly and time consuming, and so it's an easy thing to skip. So those are the types of things that we're able to help provide small businesses to really help their business be more robustly secure than it previously was.
Do you do partnership agreements?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Partnership agreements.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, we do joint ventures, partnership agreements, partnership separation agreements, all of that. Yes.
Well, let me ask you this question, which what do you offer it's nice to have an agreement when you start a business, but the agreement really should talk about when you end the business. Do you deal with that at all? The end the end
Yeah,
of
terminations. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, bankruptcies and terminations. Yeah, we cover that as well.
but in your partnership agreements, do you say to the person Bill,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah. Separation clauses and termination clauses are definitely part of the partnership agreements as well. Obviously, like any robust partnership agreement, you should think about all those things from day one. And by the
okay,
way, that's actually a great example of what I'm talking about, like the challenges that small businesses face is, if you're kind of doing this on your own, you're realistically you're going to miss things like that, right? Because you're thinking about the formation stuff and you're not thinking about what goes wrong, right? And that's typically where a lawyer can provide support. That's where DocDraft provides support as well, because we have seen enough of this that we can help you with that.
well, most newbies don't understand. That's often more critical than the opening statement.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
opening.
right.
Well, okay. We just have a couple of minutes left. First off, give us your website again for our
Sure.
audience.
Yeah, it's docdraft.ai. That's DOCDRAFT.ai.
Okay, and if they wanted to reach you directly, is there a way they can reach
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I'm on all the major socials, LinkedIn and Twitter. You can just find me with my name. I'm the only person in the world with my name, and so I'm easy to find and track down.
Okay, and now we have just about 2 minutes left. What would you like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I mean, I think for small business owners, the message we like to provide them is, something that we've seen firsthand from our customers, something that we felt, personally as well, which is when you're a small business owner, you don't know what legal need is around the corner, but you do know that they keep popping up. And they're frequent and they vary in nature and they're always very, very customized and personal to you and your company. We want to help support you through that journey, and that's really what we built DocDraft to do. We want to be able to help partner with you, whether you're drafting something, you need help reviewing something, whether you want to connect with an attorney or you just want something quick and easy. We're there to help provide support along the way. And so, we really want every small business to be more protected and every small business to feel like they have an attorney on their side, and that's why we built DocDraft.
Okay. Well, on that note, we have to say thank you for, to me, a very illuminating time. Thank you.
Thanks so much, John. Appreciate the time.
Mhm.